Believe it or not, it's much easier to have some disposable income to save and invest when you don't have too much and you don't buy too much stuff. So today a light video about some things that you most likely have, but I don't. Hey, I'm Marta, welcome back to my channel. If you hear any noise in the background, that's Mariusz and Karol, the builders fixing my garden outside. Those of you who follow the story of my garden wall, the saga, will understand it. And those of you who don't, I'll make a video about my garden at some point. We're in England. Gardening is serious business here and also a part of good life. So it will be in line with this channel's theme. And as always, I will talk about numbers and we will be all able to express our shock as a community. So Mariusz, one of the builders, came to me the other day with a bowl of food and asked if I could reheat it for him in a microwave. There is a small problem. I don't own a microwave. I never owned one since moving out of my parents' house over 20 years ago. Why? Because they take up space, they often smell, they can be easily replaced with a pot on a hob or a tray in an oven, and yes, an air fryer that I spoke about here. Plus, the way they cook or reheat food is just lame, so I don't have one and won't have one in the future. And while we're mentally still in the kitchen, things like a cookie jar, tea, coffee, and sugar caddies, never had them. How do I store cookies, you may ask? If I buy any, which rarely happens because sugar is pure evil, I put them in a cupboard in their original packaging. Can you believe? Same goes for regular sugar. I do have tea and coffee containers that can be used for plenty of other foods. But the rule is simple. Nothing signed, nothing labeled, and nothing that cannot double as something else, to make them at least somewhat useful. Speaking of useful makes me immediately think of something absolutely useless. An example of something I find very useless would be a set of coasters. Every holiday cottage I go to, every Airbnb seem to have those. Why? The other day, Adam's friend visited and I made him coffee. So we sit down and he wants to place his cup of coffee on the coffee table. Now it's a nice coffee table that isn't cheap. Still, it's a goddamn coffee table and should be treated like one. I simply refuse to treat my furniture like objects in a museum. These things, no matter how pretty, have a function. And anyway, any small damage they suffer just adds to their history, to their personality, if you like. So imagine my astonishment when Adam's friend looked around and asked me if I had coasters. What? No, we do not have coasters in this house. We enjoy the marks your cup leaves on this coffee table, so put your cup down and let's continue our conversation. Jesus. And while we're at having conversation, something you most likely have and I don't is a TV. I grew up in a house where a TV was on pretty much non-stop when my dad was around. And I could see how it affected the whole family dynamic badly. News 24/7, damn soap operas, quiz shows and whatnot. Shh. During the 10th edition of news of the same day. The whole family shutting up because there was some event in another part of the world nobody actually really cared about. Fantastic. I used to have a TV when I arrived in the UK and very quickly found myself addicted to its program. You know, when you prepare your meals based on when your least favorite show is on, so that you can make it before the better show. Kind of addicted. So one fine day I gave the TV back to my colleague who presented it to me and that was that. I'm not sure why, but most people still find it really bizarre that I don't own a TV. I don't. I don't need it and don't miss it. Every time somebody tells me they wish they had more time in their life, I suggest just one thing: throwing away the TV. It's the simplest way to find heaps of free time and spend that time doing something much more meaningful. So yeah, no TV, and as a consequence, no TV license either. Double win. Come to think of it, I live in a kind of 18th century sort of way. A quick weekend at my friend's made me realize what I do. I looked at the shelf right under the TV and saw all those modern things that most people like to own. You know, Alexas, Echoes, Wi-Fi boosters. These things remind me of Henry Moore sculptures after being downsized and dropped from a very tall building. The resemblance is undeniable. I don't own any of these things. I wouldn't know what to do with them. Do they even work? Okay, once during a barbecue, another friend was trying to find a recipe. Okay, Google, find me a recipe for baked mushrooms. Okay, Google, find me a recipe for baked mushrooms. Okay, Google, Polish pronunciation, received pronunciation, monotone pronunciation. It just wouldn't work. I ended up preparing everything while watching a muted video of some woman instructing me how to make samosas. Thanks, Google. That really helped. In essence, no dust collecting electronic devices that are supposed to make my life easier. Inconvenience all the way in this house. Now, it might come to you as a big surprise, but I also don't own a barbecue. I mean, this could change once I have a usable garden, not a post-war zone instead of a patio, but for now, I don't. So people who own those massive barbecues for which you need a separate shed or a garage just really amaze me and scare me at the same time. I mean, at which point did your life turn so bad that you decided it would be a good idea to purchase an industrial food prep unit for your family of 4? Some people don't think one of those is enough. Oh no, you need at least 2 or even more, because you need to be able to cook everything at the same time. So those 2 piglets, 12 cobs of corn and 5 kilos of halloumi must be served equally hot, or the status of the best barbecue giver will go to the guy next door. Unacceptable. So yeah, I don't own a barbecue and I still have friends. Seriously, it's possible. Being an 18th century kind of person, I also don't drive and don't own a car. You know that dream about owning a Tesla? I don't. Cars are expensive, need maintenance, I'm absolutely not interested in, and take up far too much space. I was chatting with Mariusz, the builder I mentioned to you earlier, about how to fix my front garden. I wanted to plant trees and shrubs, you know, lavender kind of thing on one half. Not a good idea, announced Mariusz. If you want to sell this house in the future, forget trees and make a driveway big enough for 2 cars instead of 1. Really? 2 cars for 1 family in a 2-bedroom house? What about climate change? How dare you, Mariusz, in the words of Greta? Do people live like that? Why? Well, I don't. I know many of you will say that where I live, it's impossible to function without a car. Luckily, I don't. Bamboo over cars. That's all I say. Alright, finally, as a woman, to all other women out there, how do you manage having a set of handbags? The moment I swap my backpack for my handbag, notice the use of singular form of both, I end up forgetting something important. The inside pocket had my keys, or the back nook had my tissues, and this annoys me so much that I only switch between my backpack and my handbag when I go traveling. It saves a lot of frustration and even more time and money. I know a woman who has a collection of luxury bags stored neatly in her wardrobe. and she never wears them. Of course, that's a completely different level of waste, but good luck to her if she starts using them. Confusion guaranteed. I'll stick to one handbag, makes life easier. Okay, I could go on, but that's it for today. These are some of the things that most of you have, but I don't. But maybe you don't own them. Then challenge my assumptions in the comments. I'm always open to a conversation. What I wanted to say is that stuff is overrated. We give it far too much meaning, and I just wanted to mention stuff that don't own, as it brings zero value to my life. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.